Hey, folks. So yesterday, the Judiciary Committee, House Judiciary Committee, held on, and it was the Subcommittee on Administrative, State, Regulatory Reform, and Antitrust. So it's a subcommittee of the Judiciary Committee. Held a hearing on the antitrust issues dealing with everything in NCAA. Now, I was listening to this, and I'm going to make a few videos on this because there is so much information, and hearing it, you may not want to go through the entire thing. I am going to not play you the stupidity people. There were people that went stupid in this, but I'm going to play you some of the more coherent arguments on this. I don't agree with everybody, but the two people that you're going to hear in this video, one is the chair of the subcommittee, Scott Fitzgerald. He's from Wisconsin. And the ranking member, Jerry Nadler from New York. Both of these gentlemen sum up everything coherently. I like what they have to say. I may not agree completely with both sides on this because both of them are presenting kind of two different sides, a little bit of overlap of agreement and disagreement. I don't agree with everything they have to say. I don't disagree with everything they have to say, but I think it's something that you should hear, and I think it's something that's very good. So let's get into. Let's first have you hear. I'm just going to play both of them back to back. I've actually cut them down. It may seem a little stupid that I cut them down, but yeah, you'll understand when you get to listening. They beginning of one of these meetings is a lot of headache.
Hey folks, this is Paul with Redneck Sports. I want to thank you for viewing my video, and I want to give you one thought process. There was a famous coach at the University of Tennessee by the name of General Robert Neyland. He had 6 maxims, but number 2 maxim is what everybody should apply to their life. Play for and make the breaks. When one comes your way, score. That's how to live your life right there.
For the NCAA, which has created issues around name, image, and likeness payments, known as NIL, the transfer portal, and eligibility rules in college athletics. A series of court opinions finding antitrust liability against the NCAA, most notably the Supreme Court's 2021 Alston decision, calls into question the legality of any rules that limit compensation for student athletes. Further, a patchwork of state laws has made it difficult, if not impossible, for the NCAA to regulate NIL payments to student athletes. An additional ongoing litigation strongly suggests rules governing student athletes transferring schools and eligibility requirements will also be found to violate the antitrust laws. College sports is rapidly heading in the direction of unlimited payments, unlimited transfers, and no rules around who is eligible to compete. In October of 2024, the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of California granted preliminary approval of a settlement agreement in House versus the NCAA, known as the House Settlement. That paves the way for the first revenue-sharing model in college athletics. It also creates a framework to govern NIL payments from so-called quote-unquote boosters, also known as collectives, and replaces scholarship caps with roster caps. The House settlement does not resolve other pending antitrust litigation against the NCAA, nor does it immunize it from many subsequent antitrust challenges. Further, the House settlement is the product of the NCAA conferences and the plaintiffs' lawyers. Schools, coaches, and athletes largely did not have a seat at that table. Under the current framework, any rule that the NCAA attempts to enforce will face immediate litigation, and history suggests that the NCAA will likely lose every time. Most people can agree that the NCAA went too far with their regulations in the past. For example, the NCAA placed rules around the exact type of snacks student athletes could receive from their teams. prohibited transfers without penalty, and barred legitimate third-party NIL payments. The NCAA was too late to acknowledge that some college sports are large commercial enterprises, and certain student athletes bring great value to their schools. But now, college sports has largely lost any resemblance of the amateur sports that they used to be or collegiate spirit, even when the cost of a sport consistently and greatly exceeds any revenue from it. College sports are rife with play for pay schemes from boosters and schools. And the educational mission of college athletics has been eroded. Specifically, multiple transfers hinder pathways to graduation, and a lack of eligibility rules encourage individuals to stay in college long beyond the average 4-year period. Coaches are finding it difficult to manage their teams because students can transfer at a drop of a hat. This scenario leaves coaches without a functioning roster and harms the student athletes that value consistency in educational and sports programs. Colleges must also shift their recruiting strategies. Recruiting high school athletes is not the focus for some coaches anymore, because getting athletes from the transfer portal is more cost-effective than training the next generation of athletes from the group up. The inability of the NCAA to set rules has turned college and athletics into what would be called by some a semi-professional endeavor, focused more and more on men's football and basketball. The witnesses we have today are perfectly prepared to supply members of the committee with the required information to better inform us as we work on possible solutions to help ensure that college athletics programs remain accessible for the next generation of student athletes. I want to thank the witnesses for appearing before us today and look forward to hearing what each of you has to say. I now will recognize our ranking member, Mr. Nadler, and recognize him for his opening statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the business of college sports, a business that generates billions of dollars a year, has seen dramatic changes in recent years, and the industry continues to evolve rapidly. College athletes are being recognized and compensated for their talents and contributions as never before, and new models of compensation continue to develop through litigation and other competitive pressures. But now the NCAA, which generates nearly $1.3 billion a year in revenue, wants to stop this progress dead in its tracks. It wants Congress to step in and protect the NCAA, its conferences and schools from having to share a greater percentage of the money they rake in each year with their unpaid athletes, without whom there would be no revenue in the first place. Unfortunately, instead of highlighting the need for continued reforms to the college athletic system to protect the rights of its athletes, today we are considering whether a repeat antitrust offender should get a bailout and be allowed to turn back many of these recent changes while diminishing the voice of college athletes in perpetuity. The NCAA has lobbied Congress for years, seeking exemptions from our laws to preserve their monopoly on college sports. For example, in the wake of Title IX's passage, ushering in historic opportunities for women in sports, the then all-male NCAA sought exemptions from the law. In advance of litigation with the potential to disrupt their control over broadcast rights, the NCAA sought congressional intervention. When faced with lawsuits that could bring an end to their suppression of athletes' ability to capitalize on their personal publicity rights, also called name, image, and likeness, or NIL, the NCAA asked Congress to step in. And now the NCAA is back, asking us once again to take action on their behalf, to turn back the clock on many recent changes to the collegiate system, and to render college athletes voiceless and powerless. The only professional sports that enjoys the antitrust exemption the NCAA seeks is baseball. And for decades, this exemption suppressed professional baseball players' abilities to unionize, make needed reforms to their sport, and obtain competitive salaries. But now, many of the same Republican lawmakers who have decried Major League Baseball's antitrust exemption want to grant the same safe harbor from our competition laws to the NCAA. We have ample evidence that antitrust exemptions generally suppress wages, block access to necessary health and safety protections, and undermine competition. There is no reason to contemplate a bailout for the NCAA, especially when it has demonstrated little regard for our competition laws, while failing to protect athletes from being exploited. While paying coaches and executives exorbitant salaries from the hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue generated by college athletes, the NCAA insists it needs help from Congress to suppress players' wages and rights to employment status. While looking the other way on academic fraud, the NCAA insists that the current system is necessary to protect, quote, student athletes, close quote. The NCAA knows that athletes often miss class and cannot pursue their major of choice because of practice and travel schedules. Yet they hold out the academic aspect of a college athlete's experience as all important. While the NCAA insists it needs a bailout to ensure the survival of Olympic sports and to protect women athletes, it has failed to sufficiently promote those sports and has failed to ensure its member schools follow Title IX. We should not reward the NCAA by placing restrictions on necessary changes to the collegiate athletic system, changes which are notably benefiting the athletes already, and which the NCAA continues to resist and decry. It is not just college athletes who are concerned about the special protections the NCAA is seeking. The players' associations of all the major professional sports have also weighed in. In a joint statement, they wrote, quote, NIL legislation purporting to protect athletes should not be used as a Trojan horse to nullify athletes' legal rights or status. Legislation that is meant to protect college athletes should under no circumstances eliminate or diminish their rights under contract, tort, antitrust, and or labor laws. Close quote. Similarly, in response to proposed legislation that would affirm that college athletes are employees under the National Labor Relations Act, the Players Association wrote, quote, collective bargaining has immeasurably benefited the workers we represent and professional sports as a whole. Athletes enjoy elevated health and safety standards, medical benefits, fair compensation, and other rights both on and off the field. Leagues and teams can negotiate roster construction, player reserve, and other competitive regulations. And fans receive the most compelling entertainment product in the world. The same result is achievable at the collegiate level. Close quote. Mr. Chairman, college sports have the power to bring communities together and to electrify the nation. The college football playoffs brought heat to a cold winter, and this month the country will be riveted by March Madness. Perhaps the best way to fully appreciate college athletes is to watch them perform at the highest levels. Please play the video clip.
For the inbounder, looking to bounce, Garcia. We are coming up.
Casey O'Brien sent on net, and Harvey once more. The Badgers will score.
His first touch. And typical Ashton Jetty. Looking to go. You can't bring him down. Is he? Yes, he will.
Thomas bends it. The superstar strikes for North Carolina. What a goal!
The 1-0. In the end, left center field. Ross on the move. Won't get this. Tennessee walks it off. She was an unstoppable force last season against Iowa, but was coming off the bench. Clark. Oh my! From the future.
As you can see, NCAA college sports are compelling. They're exciting, they're electric, and people want to see them. Advertisers know this, and that is why the business of college sports is so lucrative. But people are tuning in to see great athletes, and it is only fair that the athletes see a portion of the revenue generated by their performances. College sports have also brought many non-financial benefits to its athletes, from life lessons about teamwork, building a strong work ethic, and gaining leadership skills to promoting health and wellness. And for some, it also has the potential to set them on the path to professional glory. But for too many athletes, the current system has failed them. Important changes are underway that have begun to level the playing field, and more are being considered. We should not put our thumb on the scale in favor of an organization that too often has placed its profits over the interests of its athletes. I thank our witnesses for being here today, and I look forward to their testimony. I yield back.
Now, you've heard both sides of it. A lot of what comes after, you're going to hear some of this if you stick around on my channel. These two, though, bring up the issues from a legal and from a heartstrings and from a college fan point of view. There is some things that are brought up later on in the hearing, and you're going to get to hear some of the more coherent parts of it when it comes to Olympic sports versus money sports. So basketball, both men's and women's, bring in money, and of course college football brings in money. There aren't really that many other sports at some schools. Like, I'm pretty certain at Oklahoma, LSU, and Oregon State, they are currently making money off of the women's gymnastics programs. If you follow this channel, they're making money right now. And Oregon and LSU will probably still make money. I don't know how Oregon State will continue to make money after Jade Carey leaves. There will still be some popularity, but I think it'll start breaking even or going under again. University of Tennessee, while college football and basketball both are really big money makers there, baseball's a really big deal at the University of Tennessee. You saw how we just won the national championship last year, and if you're looking at a record this year, we're looking like we're going to be continuing on that. But baseball's not normally always winning money. Then you take a look at wrestling at Iowa and a couple of other schools like Nebraska might make money, or Wisconsin, but probably doesn't make money everywhere else. Track and field, swimming, diving, those programs don't make money. So those are called Olympic programs because these are Olympic sports. Baseball isn't anymore. But soccer is. These universities are getting the athletes that go to those sports. So this is going to become a big issue when you're hearing a lot of what I'm going to continue to do. So stick with me on all of this. I am going to be bringing you kind of an edited version and a breakdown of it, and I'm going to answer some of my thoughts and opinions on this. Like I said, I think Jerry Nadler and Scott Scarroll did a great job in starting this. So, thank you for watching my video. Hit like, subscribe if you don't mind, and this has been Paul with Redneck Sports. Y'all have a good day now. Bye.
I want to thank you for watching my video. And if you like what you saw, like, subscribe, and comment. Y'all have a good day now.